All right, guys, welcome in. A very happy Thursday to you. Happy New Year as we get ready for 2025 college hoops action here, and a big slate today. We're going to break down some of these more popular games, including Rutgers, Indiana. We're also going to talk about Oregon and Illinois, which is a game I find fascinating tonight. As you guys know, I've been telling you that we probably shouldn't sleep on a 12-1 Oregon team, but the market might have over-adjusted for that game. And we'll mix in a few best bets, and we're going to do it, of course, with two of the best. I'm sorry. It's just Brian Power's head is so big. I thought that was an extra person. We want to welcome you guys in here. BP in the house, as well as Adam Trigger. Nobody better to talk college hoops with. Gentlemen, let us start here, if we could, with this Rutgers and Indiana game. Fascinating game to me here, just simply because Rutgers, I thought, was supposed to be better than what they've actually shown, BP, here. But Indiana, I don't know, is this an under, a total game? Is this a side game? How do you look at this one, BP?
Well, Joe, I would try to figure out the zoom out function on this camera, but I know we have limited time and I don't want to take up 15 minutes of people's time while I fix a camera. So we'll just get right to the game, shall we? Rutgers and Indiana. Both teams, I think it's fair to say, they've been a little disappointing. Or is that an accurate assessment? But look, and I'm going to contradict myself with this in the next game, but home court advantage tends to be pretty important in the Big Ten. So I'm gonna lay it with Indiana in this thing. Rutgers has just played the one true road game. It didn't go particularly well. They lose by double digits to Ohio State. Ohio State didn't even have Bradshaw in the lineup for that game. I just think, Rutgers, they're relying on a couple. Right, when you rely on freshmen on the road, you haven't played on the road a little bit. Indiana, to me, when I look at the respective chasms between where the teams are at, where they're expected to be, Indiana's is a little bit wider. Yes, I did fade Indiana when they were against Nebraska earlier this year. That was a client release. But guess what? That game was in Lincoln on the road. Big Ten home team. Give me Indiana. I'll lay it up to 6 here with the Hoosiers at Assembly Hall.
Oh, I like it. Trig, what do you think about this Rutgers team here with, Bailey, and they had all this hype with these guys, and it just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it's lived up to it here. Is this a spot we want to look to back Rutgers tonight?
Yeah, I don't hate that, but so I'll answer your first question first. They have been disappointing. They haven't lived up to the hype, but I think what you have to understand is that you're basically relying on two freshmen, true freshmen, right? Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, but they're as talented as any individuals as you're going to find in the country, right? So it's like there was probably always going to be some growing pains. If you go back to the beginning of the year, Bailey didn't even really get on the court till the third or fourth game, so it was going to take him some time. I'm going to buy Rutgers. I just don't know if it's going to be here next week when they've got all the big boys coming into town. Wisconsin, Purdue, UCLA. I think they play 3 straight home games next week against, and that you should be giving 5 points for home court at Jersey Mike's Arena. That is as good of a home court as you're going to find. That's where I really want to back them. Now, as far as this game is concerned, I'm right around the number. I don't like Indiana here. I would, if you absolutely force me to, I would take the points. Rutgers really, they've been most impressed. The games they've been most impressive in this year so far, the loss to Alabama and the loss to Texas A&M. So I do think they play up to competition a little bit. It's the bright lights, big game type deal. They covered both of those games, covered against Bama, covered against A&M. And, this kind of, the one they struggled with was going on the road to Ohio State. So that's where the road concern comes in that Brian was talking about. This is maybe not the team I really want to back on the road. So slight lean here toward Rutgers. I'm looking for a spot to jump in with them. I'm going to be a little bit annoyed if they come out and win this game and I miss that spot. But like I said, next week when this team is at home, I guarantee you they'll make Brian Powers card at some point because that is his dream setup. One of those overvalued favorites going into Piscataway, New Jersey. It's a dream setup. So just lean here for me, Rutgers, but just wait till next week. It's going to be a great spot to bet the Scarlet Knights.
Should be a good one with Rutgers and Indiana. Thanks so much. I don't know what I would do without that giant picture of your headphones and ears in the picture here, BP. Big shout out to the chat room, by the way. Big Daddy in the house, Bill Sandoval. Always a pleasure to see you guys. Happy New Year. Mariners today, ready to roll. Titan CT, good to see you guys. BP, that's a good game, but I just heard you on WagerTalk today mention this Oregon and Illinois game coming up. And it sounded to me, and of course, when I was half listening when you speak, but I was thinking that it sounded like maybe you're not a big believer in this Oregon team here. It sounded like your numbers, either you couldn't read them or you didn't understand them, but it sounded like Illinois is the better team in your book. Is that what we're sounding like?
Yes, Joe, I can obviously tell you don't agree with what I had to say on Wager Talk today. Thank you for dancing around that subject. Yeah, look, what I guess I'm concerned about I did say it. If you missed the spot on Wager Talk today, I said I have Illinois ranked higher, and I'm going to take the points in this game. I think it's too many. Oregon, yes, they've only lost the one game. It was a last-second shot against UCLA, and my one concern, I think it's still, you could say, early in the season. And one concern I do have when I'm just looking at some of these numbers is teams that are able to blow out weak non-conference opponents. Do I overrate them? It was sort of the case with a team like Texas Tech last night, right? Like I looked at the numbers with Texas Tech against Central Florida. I was like, oh, this number looks low. I didn't lay it. And lo and behold, look what happened to Texas Tech against Central Florida in that game. The Central Florida team that was playing its first true road game. But here, I'm going to trust the numbers. I like Illinois plus the points. I've got Illinois 16th. I've got Oregon 20th. That's a pretty big difference. The pollsters have Oregon at 9th. Again, I know their only loss was on a buzzer beater against UCLA. They've beaten Bama. They've beaten A&M. They've beaten San Diego State. But Illinois, guys, defensively, I think defense travels. I know this is a long travel, and I just said in the last segment that, home court advantage matters most in the Big Ten. If you look at that historically, and now we've got cross-country tips with the conference expanding. But Illinois' defense, holding opponents to 42% from 2, 26% from 3. As long as the Illini don't go ice cold from 3, I think they should be in good shape. So I'll give you another look too here, Joe, that I did not talk about on Wager Talk today. I would look at the under on this game if you were going to play the total. I mentioned Illinois' defense. Oregon it also defends very well. So I don't know. Under is another look for you, but I do like the Illini plus the points. I have not changed my mind in an hour.
Has not changed his mind in an hour, despite my best passive-aggressive try there, Adam Trigger. So I'm going to go to you here, brother, and help explain to me how, I don't know, I heard on the morning wager that he was all concerned about Maryland traveling out west, not so much worried about Illinois traveling out west. How about you, though, with this Dana Altman Oregon team? Listen, I don't know that we should be surprised that they're doing what they're doing. How surprised are you, and do you like them in this game tonight?
No, I lean with Brian on the side, but I'll look at the total here. I really didn't have much of an opinion on the side. Numbers right where I expected it to be. I'm not that concerned with the travel either for a team like Illinois, who is not immune to like playing big games. Like I don't think. Where the travel is going to matter for some of these teams now in the Big Ten is when it piles up, where it's like third road game in 8 days or like really big home game, and now you've got to go on the road like a couple days later. Coming off of the Christmas break and having to go out to Oregon is not a travel spot that I'm all that worried about for Illinois. I do agree with Brian. Defense does travel. I think that's the key here. I like the under. So what you have here is two teams that are quality on both ends of the floor, in my opinion. Both very good offensively, both very good defensively. And my gut tells me that in a game like this, it's the defense that's more likely to show up. Like, I don't know that you're going to get like super efficient offensive game from both of these teams. Illinois could struggle with zone a little bit here. Altman's good at mixing in zone. He could turn, I could see them taking some ill-advised shots in this game. And Illinois is just awesome defensively. a lot to like there with the way they defend. Underwood's been really good defending there. It has had really good defensive teams there for the last couple of years. So 156 seemed astronomically high. I suppose it could get there, but I think you're going to need a lot of efficiency to get there. So I will say under. I don't know what it is now, but when I did my segment earlier this morning, it was 156. I think it probably stays under. I think it's a tight game. So I think BP's probably on the right track with Illinois plus the points, and I don't think it gets near this total.
Yeah, well, it's actually now 155s in the marketplace there, Trig. So they are listening to you guys as we're starting to see the total come down. I'm also starting to see fives popping up. So the Oregon money starting to come in as well, pushing this thing up. So BP, it sounds like you're probably not, if you like Illinois, hold off because the money certainly all towards Oregon in this spot. You can probably, I don't know, do you think you get a 5.5 here?
I did say that. That was probably the part where it was towards the edge, Joe. So I assumed you weren't listening to that part. Yes. I said you should wait if you like Illinois because the money's coming out of Oregon. So yes, that was something. Oh, you were listening, Joe. That's very nice of you. I know it was still early in the show. So.
It was, yeah. It was. That's usually the part where I start tuning out here. So Oregon, Illinois.
I do have a somewhat of an intelligent follow-up to make on this game. Trent, correct me if I'm wrong. In the now defunct Pac-12, didn't we always see teams, because they would pack up the road, every team would play 2 road games in a week or 2 home games a week. Yes. Didn't traditionally we see teams really suck in the second road game when they have to do that? Like,
yeah, so they used to do.
And it was a second road game in 3 days. It's going to be interesting to see now if we see that in the Big Ten, because when a team goes west, they're playing twice west, or they're going to play twice east.
Yeah, the Pac-12 used to do like the travel buddy thing. So like you traveled with the same team, and you would just flip flop. So it would be like the Arizonas would go up to Oregon on Thursday. Someone would play Oregon State, and then on Saturday they'd switch, and the other would play Oregon. And so you would see like that second game in 3 days. Specifically the one that always was tough was like when Colorado and Utah got paired together when they were in the Pac-12, and you'd have to go Boulder, Salt Lake City back to back. So yeah, that was always tough right on the back end of that. So that is a good point, BP. Not something I really thought about till just now.
All right, we got, settle down before I mute your ass, BP. Let's talk here, gentlemen, quickly if we can, at a game coming up, I think at the top of the hour. Trig, this is probably in your wheelhouse with the Big South here. I know Longwood taking on Presbyterian. We're starting to see a lot of money coming in. It was 3.5. I'm starting to see 3s now popping up for Longwood on the road when that game in about 30 minutes for here. I know you had mentioned Longwood on a couple of shows earlier this year. Are they the right side? Because the market seems to be thinking so.
Yeah, I'll just give it out. If you don't go to my page and buy it, this is the day game play I have up for sale. If you did buy it, like, shoot me a DM on Twitter. I'll give you one in the future. Don't want anyone to feel like they got cheated right there. But I played Longwood. It is a client play for me. I played it earlier this morning at minus 130, 4% play. It is now, it doesn't matter. Like, if it's minus 145, minus 150, like, I still think you just play the money line and then just, like, maybe play it for 3.5 units or 3.5% instead of 4%. I don't like when people lay like 2.5, like, because they missed like a 10 cent or 15 cent move on the money line. So I am on Longwood money line. I love this spot for this team. So the reason I like this team so much is I truly believe Griff Aldrich is the best coach in that league. I also think they get overlooked a little bit. High Point is so good, and you've got other like name teams down there like Radford, Winthrop that have been good in recent years, that for whatever reason, Longwood just doesn't get the same love that like a High Point does in the market. And yet, like, who ended up in the NCAA tournament last year, right? Like, Longwood went in a true road game in their conference championship game and beat High Point, ended up in the NCAA tournament last season. It was their second one in 3 years. A lot of, he's got a lot of the same guys back. Something super interesting about that team, I think every guy has played all 15 games this year. They've had no injuries. So they've been able to remain healthy. He's able to play a deep rotation. And the thing that I felt like when I was at the Longwood Binghamton game a few weeks ago in Binghamton, they actually came up here to play a road game at Binghamton. I thought they struggled a little bit with Binghamton's very athletic sort of front court and athletic players. And I don't think Presbyterian really has that. They are mostly guards. They're one big, whose name is escaping me right now. One of their bigs, 6'9". I forget his name. I'm blanking on his name, but he hasn't played in like 3 weeks. So I think you're going to see like a mostly four guard lineup here from Presbyterian. I just like that's the type of team that Longwood should be able to just have no issues with. And the other thing I really like about Longwood is they are battle tested. This team went down to the Virgin Islands, beat UAB, played against Kansas State, played McNeese State. God knows why they felt the need to come up to Binghamton, New York and play a game, but they did that. So it's another road game. Just went out to play SMU. Their only losses are the K-State game, the McNeese State game, the SMU game, so playing up in all of those. And then they split a home and home with NC Central, who's not a terrible team. So I think Longwood's right in the mix this year in this league. I'm willing to fade High Point. We can talk about that game after if you want. But I have reasons to oppose High Point. I'm high on Longwood. They are a client play for me today, -130. And it'll just be my best bet for the show because I was going to pick something different, but you found the one I was selling. So this is going to be my best bet for the show.
Don't blame me. Just blame Big Daddy and Titan CT and Big Munch. They screwed it all up in there. I think I might have. Somebody said Wood. I just assumed Longwood. That was the end of that. Guys, don't forget to hit that like button, of course. Hit that subscribe button.
And Joe, that game tips in 20 minutes. So it should be noted. That game tips off in about 20 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is another reason why it's so important to hit the subscribe button, get notified when we do these live shows, because this is the kind of stuff that you get there, including Brian Powers' headphones. You'll always get a close-up of those. Pleasure, guys. Though, honestly, subscribe, like. Don't forget to hit the follow button. Those of you guys joining us on Instagram as well as TikTok, appreciate you guys as always. Couple of other games of note that are getting tossed around here, and I know BP, you've got a interesting best bet coming up in a game with Memphis and FAU that we're going to talk about. Does anybody like Penn State, by the way, at home at Northwestern? Do we just take BP? Do we just look at home teams in these early, conference matchups like this? Both of these teams, by the way, have been fantastic so far this year, although the schedules are a little bit light. But, you win the games on the schedule, right? You're talking about a Penn State team, I think 10th in the country in points per game, almost 90 points. They could get just as high as assists, almost 18, 19 assists a game. This Penn State team is pretty good. They are at home against Northwestern. Were you leaning one way or the other with this one?
Joe, first of all, you keep ripping these headphones. It provides me a lot of comfort when I do these shows. I tried doing a show with those AirPods once. I felt naked. I couldn't do it. I was lost. The headphones are here to stay, I think. But getting to this game.
Did you say you were lost and you blamed the headphones?
Yes,
okay.
I did.
Okay,
I felt lost. They keep me centered, Joe. They keep me centered.
Yes.
They keep me focused on the screen. I can hear your questions.
Just give me a Franks and beans, too. Just give me a Franks and beans, and I'm good to go. Go ahead.
I'm just going to give you. Okay, there we go. Well, that's rude, Joe. All right. If you can tell me the pace that this game is going to be played at, I'll tell you what. I'd make a bet right now here with you on the air because, look, it is a pace war. Penn State, 18th in the country in tempo. Northwestern, 318th. That is a big difference. Penn State being at home, I think they can control the tempo. You mentioned the win. They beat Purdue here at home. I think correct me if I'm wrong. I think they smashed Purdue in that game. They looked really good in that one. Northwestern, I know I contradicted myself with the Oregon-Illinois game, but I do think home court advantage is a big deal in the Big Ten. Ironically, in these games with less travel, but Penn State's a top 45 team, both ends, efficiency. So I think Northwestern needs to keep it low scoring. In-state college, Penn State scores enough to get over the line. I would lay it if I was playing this game.
Trig, you big Penn State, you believer in Penn State with what they're doing so far this year? And do you generally favor some of these home teams early on, like in January when conference play starts to kick in here?
Yeah, I mean, Penn State, like I don't know if they'll have like their monster crowd for this game. I still think Penn State's more interested in football probably. They'll get the big time crowds for like the big Big Ten games. So I actually think the number's like a little bit high. Joe, what is it, like 4.5 right now? I think it's like 4.5, 5.
Yep.
Yeah, see, like that number's a little high, but like Northwestern's as unimpressive of a team, like out of the power conference that has a good record that I think I've seen all year. Like, I don't know how the hell this team just wins games, constantly wins games. Like they're a team that I kind of want to go against. Like this one came up and instantly I was like, well, not going to get the right number to go against them, but it's like, I get how they give some teams trouble, but it's way too much. Like Martinelli, like in these, like trying to back guys down. It's just, I don't know how that's going to work in Big Ten play. I get how it works against teams like DePaul. I actually kind of lean toward Northeastern, which is their most recent game. They were down. I think they were down like 10 in the first half, up 2 at half, and then Northeastern couldn't cover 14.5. So it's like there are some things that they do well, but I just don't like how they play, and I think their style of play is going to get exposed big time in the Big Ten. So I'm looking for a spot to fade Northwestern. Unfortunately, I think the odds makers got it right by making you sort of pay a pretty big premium to back Penn State at home here, because I had this like I was hoping to get like 2.5, 3. If it was like 2.5, Penn State would have been on my card right off the rip this morning. 4.5 is just a lot to ask. So who knows? Maybe they'll win one. Maybe they'll win this one, and then you can get them. Purdue probably just throttles them on Saturday, but I don't know. I could see Northwestern losing here and maybe Penn State pulling away.
Yeah, I like that too. Or even Northwestern can come out, take an early lead there. BP, we can hop on Penn State there to get it done at a better number. All right, guys, don't forget opportunity to partner up here with Brian Power and Adam Trigger. With the opportunity to buy one and get, like a free month, right? I mean, that's how it works right now. You can start 2025 by gifting yourself with a very special offer. Get a 30-day all-access pass for free when you purchase a 90-day. So you get an extra month, guys, and you can partner up right through, really, March Madness, which is going to be huge. Plenty of college basketball still to go. NBA action. Don't even get me started about KBO. And, of course, pitchers and catchers will be in play in a month from now. So take advantage, guys. Head over to our page at wagertalk.com. We do have some best bets coming up here. And, BP, I want to get your thoughts on this one at FAU as Memphis getting ready to come to Boca Raton here in this spot. I'm a little shocked this number wasn't higher. I saw it at 3 this morning, maybe 3.5. It feels like I'm shocked it wasn't, since FAU, not a very good defensive team, certainly preventing people from shooting threes, not exactly their specialty anymore. So what do we do in this game? It feels a little trappish.
Yeah, I was with you. So I had Memphis on Saturday against Ole Miss. That was the traditional unranked team, favored at home against the top 25. Ole Miss was just a team I wanted to fade, pure and simple. And that was Memphis didn't close the first half well, but then they took over the second half. That was a nice win, a nice start to Saturday for yours truly. But I was like you, Joe. I expected after a big win like that, Memphis now on the road, I would want to fade them. But this, A, the number's short, and B, what you just mentioned, matchup-wise, this isn't good for FAU. They struggle to defend the three. Opponents hitting over 40% from three-point land against them, and it just so happens Memphis 11th nationally from behind the arc, 40.2%. So, wow, that's not good. If Memphis can come to town, hit their threes, they're in good shape. FAU could come out rusty, too. They haven't played since December 21st. The old rest versus rust argument, whereas, obviously, as I just mentioned, Memphis played a quality team last Saturday. They scored 87 against Ole Miss. That's impressive, but the defense was really good as well. held the Rebels to 36% from the field, 7 of 28 from 3. So, FAU is going to want to play fast, but as we've both mentioned here, they don't defend necessarily well. I know FAU's had some close losses, so there's, you can maybe get worried that, I don't know, this game's decided by one possession, but I don't know. FAU lost by 17 to Michigan State, and this won't be that bad, but I think Memphis covers the number. That's going to be my best bet for the day. Penny Hardaway cashes another ticket.
Yeah, I like that. Look, I think Memphis can ill afford to lose to FAU. That's not going to help them down the road in any way, shape, or form. So win the games you're supposed to win, and they should win this game rather easily. Memphis in Boca against FAU. All right, Trig, there's only a handful of spots I know you would love to go to. Holy Cross is absolutely one of them. I would also imagine you mentioned the Radcliffe game here coming up today too. So where are you going to point us since you already gave out your client play here as a best bet in Longwood, which again tips off in about 10, 12 minutes here, guys. Opportunity to hop on board there. Is there another game you could break down for us here? Oh, is this where he gets muted and doesn't want to share anything? Is that it? Oh, okay, never mind.
My dogs were going nuts on something, so I muted myself. Yeah, so that Radford High Point game is actually a national TV game, ESPNU. So I feel like that's a good one to talk about. That is down at the Cuban Center, where I just was a couple weeks ago. Phenomenal building, one of the nicest places I've ever been. So here's my theory with High Point, and I didn't get to the window with this here because the number is kind of where I make it. But my theory with High Point is they're lacking something a little bit. Because so if you go back to the beginning of the season, High Point's the odds-on favorite to win this league, like $2, $3 favorite to win this league. And last year they were the favorite to win this league too. I talked about Longwood knocking them off, in their conference championship game. But a lot of people think High Point are just going to run through the Big South. I believe I saw something on Twitter the other day that they'd be favored in every Big South game in conference play, or at least it's projected. Maybe BP can confirm that for me while I'm talking here, that they're projected to be favored in every single game in Big South play. And that's my problem. Isn't with them winning this league or getting in the NCAA tournament. That's fine. Like they're probably going to win most of their games, but it's like them being like these 9-point favorites and like a big favorite against quality teams. Like Radford is a quality team. They've got upperclassmen. They're well coached. They're a top 60 rebounding team. A couple guys that can make plays. The stat that just blew my mind the other day. High Point was outscored in the paint in their loss to Norfolk State. Mind you, they were an 8-point favorite in that game. Actually, they were a 10-point favorite in that game. Got bet down to 8. That's Norfolk State's a team that profiles similar to like the teams you would find in the Big South. They got outscored in the paint 40-8. 40-8 in the paint, outscored by Norfolk State. I think they really miss Duke Miles, who's now at, I believe, Oklahoma. And like they play slower than they did last year. They're not an offensive juggernaut. Every one of their games has a trillion fouls. Every High Point game's got like I think the Norfolk State game, 56 free throws. The North Texas game that I went to, 57 free throws. Like I'd love to try to play unders in these games, but you can't play unders if there's going to be 60 free throws in a game. So in this case, even though I think the total's a little bit high, it's still like Radford would be the way I would go here. But my number's right there, and there's a million other games, so I'm not going to do it. But Radford, and if High Point didn't just lose to Norfolk State, that's tough to like go against them now at home after like getting upset. I was talking to someone earlier. I was mad that I missed that spot because that was the spot it made sense to play against them. That being said, like Radford or nothing here at +9, I think it is, would be Radford or pass.
Radford. BP, you got you doing your best Ralph Michaels impersonation. What are we doing? What is that?
Trig brought up a question, so I looked something up. I went to Ken Palm.
Okay.
He has High Point winning every game the rest of the season, except one. That would be Saturday against UNC Asheville. Has that as a 1-point loss. And for the record, this matters to people, only says this line should be 6. So that would agree with Trig that this line's a little bit heavy there when Trig asked that, this is probably one of the few teams that's going to be favored in every game. Yes.
Now, I want to follow something up there. I like them against Asheville on the road, like as a pick or whatever. That's not the spot to bet against this team. Like High Point is going to win a lot of their games.
Right.
And if they don't cover here, that's actually probably a great spot to back High Point because they will grind out wins. They're a well put together team. It's just the fact that they're going to be like 10-point favorites in a lot of these conference games. And there's teams like Longwood, Radford, even Presbyterian's not bad. Charleston Southern, get your notebooks out. Charleston Southern just got DJ Patrick back today. They've been waiting for him to come back all season. I didn't know this. This was a 1 p.m. game. Like, there's another guy, Sumler, on Charleston Southern that has not played yet this season. Somehow that team beat Miami without those guys. And I think it's Kelly is back in the lineup. So that's another team that probably is trending in the right direction going forward. This is not as easy of a conference as it's being made out to be. So taking points with teams like Radford, like +9, like those are the types of spreads I think High Point's really going to struggle to cover.
All right, we got just a couple of quick questions. We'll go around the horn here, see if you guys have any thoughts on a few of these games. We're seeing Andy Pollard in the chat. What are we thinking about Minnesota catching points at the barn here? Minnesota taking on Purdue, 8 o'clock. It opened up at 6. I'm seeing 5.5 now. So the market seems to be agreeing that 6 number might have been a few too many points. The total's also being bet down too. I can't think of anything other than Minnesota games and an under. I don't know. What are you thinking, BP, in this one here? Too many points for Purdue to be laying?
Here's the thing. Minnesota's precisely the kind of team that I would want to back but there comes a point where it's like, okay, maybe they just stink at covering spreads. I mean, they're 0-8-2 the last 10 games at the betting window. I tried earlier I guess it was almost a month ago now. It's been a while. When they were at Indiana, I thought that number looked a little high. Nope. They lost by double digits. Last 2 games, they've won 2 in a row against Fairleigh Dickinson and Morgan State, but did not cover double-digit spreads here. I don't know. This number looks a little short. I would rather back Minnesota at some point, maybe getting a bigger number on the road. This, I don't know. I don't think I can do it. Let me see them cover a spread, and then maybe I'll come back with them the next game. The old swagger theory. Perhaps that's what I'll do with Minnesota. But I want to see them actually cover a point spread before I bet on them.
Trig, they're asking you about Colgate and Army. So, and you knew that you knew that was coming, Trig. You had to know that was coming.
I can't get.
What time is that game? 7 o'clock.
Yeah,
7 o'clock. I'll tell you, call it 6. 6 and 144 is what we're seeing.
I should just pull my setup over and show you the snow that's going on outside and the wind. Absolutely brutal outside right now. So I live about 25 minutes from the Colgate campus, and it is currently a whiteout with intense winds. I guarantee. I don't know if Army came up here last night, but a lot of times those Patriot League teams don't. They Colgate to Army is not a bad drive. They're probably driving in this right now. And that is a horrible drive from in terms of being on rural type back roads from West Point to Hamilton, New York. And I can almost guarantee I think some of those Patriot League teams, if it's a quick bus ride, they just travel same day because they typically don't stay over. They come up. So either they left really early this morning or they had to battle through that. That's just that. I don't think that really fully matters to the handicap. It's just something that, I'm looking out my window at snow right now and crazy wind. As far as this game is concerned, Colgate, the 3-10 record's misleading because they played up pretty much all non-conference play. So almost every game they played against in the non-conference was against an opponent from a conference that's better than the Patriot League. That being said, this Colgate team's down from what they were in recent years. I really do like Army overall, relative to what they were last year. Remember, they have Jalen Rucker back, who was one of the best players in the Patriot League 2 years ago. Ended up trying to transfer. You can't transfer from a service academy school after your sophomore year. So he sat last year. He's now back. So I kind of like this Army team, but I think this is a very bad spot for them. I think this is potentially a tough spot. Having to come to Colgate. Colgate's typically played well against Army the last few years, and this is where I feel like Matt Langle is just going to outcoach a lot of these Patriot League teams, even though he has inferior talent, because he's been playing against teams like Kentucky. They've had a really tough non-conference schedule. Now you get to play a team like Army. I don't know. This feels like kind of a good spot for Colgate, though. I don't think I would lay that current number. So pass there for me, but not the spot to back Army. It'd probably be Colgate or nothing for me here.
Yeah, gotta shout out to Bill Sandoval in the chat room. Says, "Oh snap! I didn't realize they were playing outside." He's taking the under there, Trig. Just watch, outstanding. The chat room always wins. Big Daddy again, Titan CT. You guys hanging out. Ian Stewart in the house. Shout out to CMC over on TikTok hanging out with us. We also have Ziggy Zobowski also on IG hanging here today. We appreciate you guys hanging with us. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, get it going here. And, we'll throw one more out at there because I think I'm going to bet them because I have bet them and they continue to cover games. Anybody else like North Dakota State here tonight taking on St. Thomas of Minnesota here? North Dakota State at home. St. Thomas can't play on the road. I kind of like North Dakota State at a very small number here as they continue to win games and be pretty tough in those conditions. Not outside, though, Bill. They do play inside. But, again, people still have to travel there, which makes it even worse for them. So I like North Dakota State as maybe even an upset. A Summit League contender, possible champion. I call me crazy. I think they're a pretty good basketball team here, and I like the number tonight against St. Thomas. Don't forget, Trig, your best bet is already up, and you gave it out. But what else do you have going on tonight here at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, so like I said, that Longwood play tips off in literally 2 minutes. So time to get that in if you just hopped in. Longwood is the best bet for me. Like I said, if you bought it, like the individual play, shoot me a DM on Twitter, and I'll just message you the next play that I have up for sale. Simple as that. Just you have to be following me on Twitter. So if you want a free play, you got to be following me on Twitter, and you got to shoot me a DM. But it'll probably be tonight because really, there's like 66 games tonight. I haven't bet anything else for tonight, but there's probably like 4 or 5 that I've got my eye on, and will very likely add at least one of those to my card in the next hour or so. So, that's all I'll have up for tonight. Is no action in the football game today, so all I have up for tonight is going to be college basketball. And there's a good special. I think you had posted it earlier in the show, where you get a free month if you do the 90 days. Takes you right into baseball season. So we'll be here. We'll be here doing this right through one shining moment, BP, on a championship Monday. It's right on the baseball, and that gets you right there. So take advantage of that.
Yep. How about it, BP? What do you got locked loaded here, rolling tonight at Wager Talk?
Well, Joe, it could not have been a better start to 2025. I hit my 5% play yesterday on Ohio State against Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Went even easier than I thought it could have possibly gone. What we like to see, it's now a 7-1 all sports run. Going back to Thanksgiving of 2023, we're up 61.1 units in college football. College football continues to be the bread and butter. And I do have a play on the Sugar Bowl this afternoon between Georgia and Notre Dame, 4 o'clock. Start there. You can get that at my page, wt.buzz/BP. And if we learned anything today on the show, it is very obvious which of the 3 of us lives in Florida and the other 2 live in New York as we talk about weather, because it's quite the difference here as we scan the complexions here today.
Yeah, well, there's I look out my window and like Trig, and I'm seeing bikinis. Trig is seeing nothing but snow and blizzard-like conditions. So there is a difference, BP. That's a solid point.
And my fish are frozen under ice right now. So, please pray for them, everybody. Yes.
So now it makes sense with the headphones because you're trying to keep your ears warm. All right, guys, there
Exactly.
you got it. Yes, exactly correct. Go with that one there. Bill Sandoval, Titan CT, appreciate you guys. Big Daddy and company. Always a pleasure to see you guys. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already. And get ready. We'll have more college basketball to talk about tomorrow and much more when it comes to a pretty big weekend coming up here, the very first weekend in 2025. So we appreciate the time, guys. Best of luck with the plays tonight. We'll see you again tomorrow here on the College Basketball Tip-Off Show.